How's it going, guys? BJ and Game Day here. You got Joshy, you got Brent. Here to do the round 3 recap of Supercoach NRL. Once again, we'll run through some of our scores, a few injuries, some buy, hold, sells, some cheapies that are going to make you a bit of money, and see if we can't help you out a little bit this week. So, Joshy, how'd you go this week, starting out?
No, like everyone else, not too flash. A measly 839 points for me, so I've slipped back from around 30,000 to 38,000. Not exactly where I wanted to be this early in the season. Look, just no one that performed in my team. I think top scorer was Kick-Out. So, you know, when a bloke who's 250,000, you know, whatever he is now after the increases is top scoring for you, you know you're struggling. And yeah, it's been pretty tough, mate. It's been pretty tough. How about yourself?
Yeah, mate, exact same thing for me. I mean, 886 for the week. I was sort of hoping in my head maybe I could just crack 1,000 every week, maybe at the start of the season, but that's now out of the possibilities. I had my top 5 players cash-wise, one of them scored 50 and the rest were under 50, you know, so it was just a tough week, and it does happen. For anyone that scored over 1,000, well done, because it was just a really tough week for most. If you had Widdop, you were laughing, but a lot of people didn't. So I've blown out from overall rank of 215 to nearly 1,400.
Yeah, still respectable.
Yeah, still straggling along there. So try and keep around that top 1,000. Yep. Bit of a goal, so we'll see if we can get back on the horse this week, mate.
I think you hit on the head. Anyone who sort of had Widdop was the high scorers for the week. It was pretty tough on I guess all the scorers except for that Dragons game. You know, the only Dragon I've got is Aitken and 35 points. When I looked up the scores, I didn't watch the game, so when I actually looked it up afterwards and saw all those guys ton up, and I just thought, how can Aitken not at least score a try? But yeah, one of those weeks to write off, and hopefully we can improve this week.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in the BJ and Game Day league that we've got going, we had Serenity now, Cameron Coxall, and he scored over 1,000, so well done, Cam. You did say he was going to take some of our money at the start of the season.
He did. And week 1 he was last, and he slipped up to 4th, I think, now. So
he's made some good ground early, but
well.
It's yeah, premierships aren't won in March, mate. So
that's right.
We'll have to get it going. The league, we blew out from 44th overall to 99th, so we're still in the top 100 leagues, despite a lot of us not doing too well this week throughout the league. It was pretty common, but as I said, boys, let's get back on again and see if we can't bring her in again this week. So.
Big news out of the week, a lot of injuries across the board. I think, and plenty that are Supercoach relevant. The biggest one probably is Nathan Cleary for a lot of people. 10 to 12 weeks out with his knee. Look, massive repercussions for Supercoach and for the Penrith Panthers. So hopefully, hopefully the prognosis is not too bad, but 10 to 12 weeks is a long time out.
Yeah, and it's a massive one because it was the week where the prices changed, so he had the break even that he needed to hit, and he got injured early, and he also dropped a bit of cash, which also sucks. It wasn't massive. I think it was about 20 odd K or something like that, but it still stung a little bit. Yeah. And especially on a week where we talked about Widdop, where you had so many guys not perform, to have someone like that go down is just massive. Yeah. Yes, there was also a few other ones around the place that might be relevant to the Supercoach space. Connor Watson, as everyone would be well aware, also suffered a shoulder injury. The initial prognosis was 12 weeks, but I've actually since heard today he doesn't require surgery, so it could actually only be 6 to 8. That being said, I still think he's probably a sell just because...
He's got to be a sell.
He was one of those guys who were trying to be making a bit of money out of, and now that's not going to happen. So.
No, exactly.
A few options around the place there.
He's had that initial price rise, and just with the injuries this week, he's one you've just got to offload. There's a few around that people are looking at, Jeremy Marshall-King, and even upgrading depending on what cash you've got in the bank to a Sean Johnson and Milford. It's obviously a long way up to Gareth Widdop now that he's almost cracked the 750,000. Wow. Just ridiculous, but. Yeah, if you've got Widdop, as we said before, you're laughing, but Connor Watson obviously a sell this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one that probably annoyed a lot of Supercoaches was Tavita Pangai, TPJ. Yep. Everyone was high on him the week before, and rightly so. Yeah. Had the low break even, and it was pretty much get on him last week or don't get on him, in my opinion. Yep. And that injury for people that didn't have him like myself, it was a little bit of a chuckle.
Yeah, look, obviously I'm on the other side. I brought him in last week. He's just been so damaging those first 2 weeks. Unfortunately, the hamstring injury, but the good news is only one to 2 weeks. So he's a hold for mine. I think we can sort of keep him in the team, but as you said, last week was the week to get on him. I think if you didn't have him, you don't really have to worry about him too much now. that
being said, though, I have had another look at him now that he didn't go up as much as I thought he might have. He went up about, he didn't quite go up 40k, so he went up about 36,000. And now I'm wondering, well, I haven't missed the boat.
Yep.
But then I start to think, well, hamstrings, I don't want anything to do with players that have hamstring injuries. We've also heard this afternoon that Richie Kenner's also suffered a bit of a hamstring injury, so he's now going to be ruled out. Those sorts of injuries are really annoying ones if they can just happen at any time. But we'll have to wait and see. At this stage, TPJ is definitely a hold, same with Kenner, but the hammies are always dodgy ones.
A couple other injuries. Corey Oates out for a couple of weeks with a hip complaint. Jason McHugh from the Sharks. Look, obviously not someone too many people will be looking at Supercoach relevant, but in the first 3 weeks he's banged out solid 50s and 60s. So for a guy that only got minimal minutes last week because he injured, still actually managed to get some scores on the board. He's a monitor. Jared Hayne out for 6 weeks. Obviously hasn't performed as much as people would like in the first few weeks, and I mean the question marks are still there. You know, when do we get the Jared Hayne we all want to see back? Look, I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, there's something not going right there. I don't know if it's the fact that he wants the fullback spot and he's just not putting in until he gets it. I can't imagine that's it, but I have no idea what's going on. And probably the injury has come at a good time because Para are struggling and they need to sort something out.
Para are struggling. I think we're going to see Hayne drop out. Obviously, Bevan French has picked up an injury as well. He's out for a good few weeks. Yep. Will Smith comes in. George Jennings comes in. Look, I think this is the week. Parramatta have got the Tigers, and look, the Tigers have been well beaters so far. They were a bit unlucky with the penalty sort of against the Broncos there the other night. But I think if Para are going to bounce back, this is their week. You know, they're playing on Monday afternoon. They're going to get a dry track in Sydney. It'll be a fast track. Nathan Brown in the forwards looks absolutely awesome. If the guys can just work off the back of him. The other one in their team, Mitchell Moses, obviously he's been struggling a little bit. We'll talk on him a little bit later. He's one of my guys who I think will bounce back. A lot of people sell him, but yeah, we'll talk on him a little bit later.
Yeah, there's a lot of expectation on their halves in my opinion. Like they've got two of the arguably best young halves in the comp.
Yeah.
Not at the moment. Take away the last 3 weeks. You got Corey Norman at 6, Mitchell Moses at 7. Like these guys can. It doesn't matter who they've got around them. With the squad they have, they should be producing. So I don't know what the problem is, but they should need to figure it out.
The team's there. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Brad Arthur, but they do have the manpower there to perform. And look, starting the season, we were talking about them being top 4 certainty. So obviously that's changed a little bit now, but I still think they can hit back and do so in a big way this weekend. Buy, holds and sells, mate. Who's on the buys for this week?
Yeah, mate, so those centre wing spots probably mostly important for me at the moment, just because you don't have many of those premium outside backs doing as well as they've done in previous seasons.
Yep.
So while the guys like Hiku, if you still haven't got him, probably get on him. He's averaging 65. Kenner, now he's been injured, it's a bit hard if you haven't got him, but these guys are just going to continue to go up, and they're going to continue to go up to probably like mid 400s.
While the Warriors are looking
averaging,
good, you've got to have Hiku in there. He went up just over 70k this week, but he's got a break even, I think, of about minus 30, minus 40 this week. He's going to see another big price rise. And look, he's starting to hit the form we saw 3 or 4 years ago at Manly. So I think he can be one that you can just buy and bank on him with the Warriors form, just staying strong.
What I like with Hiku is he's getting really involved. He's actually got some good base. And that paired with the fact that he's got Harris near him, SJ on that side, Futsatua who knows how to find the try line. He's actually turned out to be probably one of the best prospects of the season for mine. So a few of those guys, if you haven't got on them, I don't know if the Philip Sammy boat has sailed. He didn't have as good a week as owners probably wanted, so he's maybe not going to go up as much as we would have thought. But
he's one I just keep looking at the Titans. I just, we saw how the Titans struggled on the weekend. As good as Sammy can be, if the Titans aren't performing, he's not going to get too many tries, and a winger can only get so much scoring-based stats.
Yeah, and that's right. And I guess there's probably some other options out there like Asako and stuff like that that are got the goal kicking in teams that are arguably going to score some more points. But we'll see. Those two guys, are they paired up on each other this week? I can't think whether Sarko and Sammy are actually on each other.
Yeah, look, I'm not too sure which side of the field they play, but
we'll see.
Obviously, Brisbane playing the Titans this week, back at Suncorp for the Broncos. I think Asako, if you've already got him in the team, he's a definite one in your 17. And if you don't have him in, look, you've got to get him in. He's kicking goals. We saw that field goal from him last week. This guy could score plenty of points and get you a few price rises.
Yep. And any other buyers you're thinking of this week?
Mate, look, the big one that I've looked at that I toyed with last week and I went the wrong way was Tohu Harris. You've had him from the start of the season and been singing his praises. Look, obviously a big price rise last week. He's just performing so well. He's got 80 minutes every week, 68, 71, 74. He's just banging out the points in a Warriors team that actually looks good for this time of the season.
They look unreal, hey?
Yeah. You've got that edge. You've got SJ, you've got Tohu, you've got Peter Hiku, and you've got Fusatua. It's just a lethal combination down that edge. And, provided, we're normally talking about this time of the season how the Warriors are struggling. They always perform during State of Origin because they've never got any players out. They've started off the season well and premiership, hopefuls. So, I think Tohu is definitely one to get in or to consider if you haven't already got him.
Yeah, mate, and I think Chook's, that left edge defence is going to be a really interesting pair up with that Warriors right edge this weekend. So you got that's Latrell Mitchell's side.
Yep.
So he comes out a lot, and it'll be really interesting to see. I don't think that game is going to be as the bookies see it, in that the Roosters are really heavy favourites. Yeah. So I think that's going to be a really good matchup this week. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
The other one they've got, who's absolutely killing, is RTS. RTS at fullback. Look, we started the season, everyone was talking Teddy, everyone was talking Turbo, and maybe Ponga. RTS, he didn't have the best season last year, and mate, he is just killing it.
Yeah, we spoke about this earlier, like one of our pre-season podcasts, where you could go RTS, and I made the comment, he's been there for an extra year now, maybe there's a little bit less pressure because he's not expected to, he's had a bit of a shocking year.
Yep.
But in my opinion, if you didn't start with someone like Teddy or Turbo, if you went someone like RTS, it's a genius move and a great move. I think realistically, and I did want to mention this last week, but as just moving aside from RTS, there's probably only 4 fullbacks I would say that you should probably have if you're serious about it.
Yep.
And aside from some recent poor scores, it'd be Teddy, Turbo, RTS and Kalen Ponga. And if you have RTS and Kalen Ponga, which you could have, they're absolutely unbelievable. Kalen Ponga, I can't sing his praises enough either. Like, if you've got RTS and Ponga, I'm really worried as guys that I don't have in my side.
100%. Look, obviously we've spent money big at the start of the season to have that Teddy Turbo combo. If you went RTS and Ponga, absolute geniuses, because one, you've saved 300,000 between the two. And 2, they're outperforming Teddy and Turbo at the moment. Teddy's gone 35, 112, 120, and then 20 last week. That inconsistency just absolutely frustrates the hell out of Supercoach players. So, not much more to say.
Look at someone like Kalen Ponga, and in a team that copped a 30-point drumming, he scored 54 points. Yeah. And anyone that watched that game would have seen that we actually blew a couple early chances that Ponga would have been on the end of some more points. So, it's going to be a really interesting season. I'm staying on the 2 guys that I've got, but I'm wondering if we're seeing the emergence of an absolute superstar, to be honest.
One guy I just want to put into the fullback calculations now. Obviously, with the guys that we've just talked about, this guy's not going to get talked about too much, but Dylan Edwards for Penrith. Now, I was unsure about this guy. He really emerged last year. This kid can play, and he follows up players, forwards, other backs like I've never seen a player do before. I thought Teddy and Turbo did it well. This guy backs up better than those guys. So if he can develop, he's at around about sort of 5'10", 5'20". So look, it's a lot of money to put into an I guess an unknown. But again, he's one I reckon that it's going to be that 5. I really think he's just going to step up and say, I'm the next Supercoach player as well. So
I know last year he was a cheapie and he could go in the centres, so a lot of people had him, and he did produce some really good scores. When you got to put 500k on him, it's a bit of a different thing.
Yeah.
But again, if you're looking for a pod with potential, yeah, he's always sniffing around and tries to be involved. So yeah.
Now, one guy a lot of people are talking about this week, especially after his performance in the last 2 weeks, is Cam Murray for the Rabbitohs. He's just getting the minutes. He's increased minutes each week. The Rabbitohs, their forward structure is a little bit strange. They've got Crichton, who plays 80 pretty much. Burgess has sort of dropped down a little bit in minutes, Sam Burgess, but their front row are just playing really low minutes. That Cam Murray's sort of getting that 60 to 70 minutes each week, and his points per minute are solid.
Yeah, mate, and it was weird because they've been naming like Heimel Hunt off the bench as well.
Yeah.
And the pre-season talk was that Murray would be getting the minutes early, and he didn't. He got named off the bench, so a lot of people got off him.
He was coming back from, I think, a hemi injury as well, so
like
maybe that was just a bit of precaution.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. And I think pretty much if you're going to go him, it has to be this week.
Yep.
He's pumped out some really good scores, and he will be. It looks like he's going to be relevant.
Yep.
If you've got some issues somewhere in your team where you've got a premium back rower or a hooker that you need to shift out, this guy is an option for 400 something K.
We saw what he did last year at the end of the season. He played, I think, 4 or 5 80-minute games and banged out a 76 average, I think it was. Look, I think you just said it. If you don't get him in this week, you're going to miss the boat. So, obviously with all the injuries, it's going to be tough. You've got to pick and choose who you're going to bring out, take in, whatever. But I reckon if you can afford to get this guy in, you've got to do it.
His base is unbelievable, that's all I'll say. If the minutes he's been getting, if he's going to get 70 plus minutes, the guy is going to be very relevant.
Another guy I'm going to bring in this week, and again, you've had him since the start of the season, I'm jumping on the Brent Hampton train here, guys, is Nathan Brown. Week 1, 59 minutes, week 2, 66, week 3, 70. This guy is an 80-minute player. You called him before the start of the season the poor man's Gallen. He runs hard, he tackles hard. He is the player Parramatta rely on right now. Forget your Haynes, forget your Moses, forget anyone else. This guy is the one who lifts that team. Now, he's been trying to lift them the last 3 weeks, and basically they've performed terrible, but you can rely on him. I'm getting him in here this week. I've got to. I just think he's just going to score 70 or 80 points here on out, and I'm tipping him to be in the top 5 players come the end of the season, average.
Big call, mate. Yeah, I've always been a fan. I can only just echo what you've said, to be honest. He's just got that engine. He just keeps on going. He's probably not a must at this point. He's got a 68 break even, but in a climate, a Supercoach climate where there's just so much uncertainty around scores and stuff like that, I feel like this guy is a go-to that you can rely on. And as those minutes go up, you're only going to see his points go up as well. He's got some good offloads in him and stuff like that as well. So yeah, I could only recommend him, but if you've gone someone like a Merrin or something like that, or you're considering it, I would definitely say try and get this guy in over someone like him.
You just mentioned Merrin. Do we know the latest update on this injury? He's been named.
So initially I'd heard 1 to 3 weeks for a sternum injury, but he's been named. I guess the good thing about that, if he doesn't get named, I'm going to get rid of him. Just because I did start with him, and I was a little bit unsure about his minutes. He was only getting 50, 57 minutes, and then he got some attacking stats in those first couple of weeks that bumped his scores up. So the good thing about it is they'll play on Thursday, which means we'll know whether he's in or not.
Yeah, before lockout.
If he's not, I've got a plan of what I'll do. If he is, I'll have to keep him because it's a bit of a waste of a trade to do what I'm going to do. But I am wondering whether it's just a bit of smoke and mirrors like Griffin likes to do with kick out and naming him to start each week and then drops him, or vice versa, whatever it is. I can't. To me, they've said he's going to be at least 1 to 3 weeks, so I'm assuming he's going to at least miss one. But he has been named, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, if you've got Merrin, whether you decide to hold him or not, you'll be able to find out half an hour before kick-off on Thursday, and then just do whatever you want to do with him. So it's a good thing about it, at least.
Now, so far through the season, there's been a fair few players that have, I guess, not lived up to expectations. Some guns that just haven't quite hit their straps just yet. Who's on the hold list, mate? Who's sort of sitting in the team that you're umming and ahhing about, but you just got to give another week or two?
Yeah, it's Anthony Milford for me. That's the big one. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just because he's got the word MILF in his name. I don't know. I just have to keep him.
Yep.
And I'm always attracted to him and expecting him to do something. Again, that's going to be the same as this weekend. I just know what he is capable of. And just doesn't matter what his break even is. It doesn't matter what his last couple of weeks' scores are. He's just the guy I'm holding, and I'm probably going to hold. I'd hate to say that he dropped under 500k, but I would still hold him if he started to play.
Let's look at last week, and last week was shit for halfbacks in scoring, other than Widdop. Milford's hit 50 last week. The week before, I think it was 63 or 65 or something like that. They're not atrocious scores, and he hasn't performed. He's back to Suncorp this week. He's got the Titans. If Bryce Cartwright, who's been dropped to the bench, if he'll be on that right side if he comes on, right? Milford could tear him apart. He could hit 3 or 4 line breaks. He could hit a few assists. Look, 75 break even this week. I think he's got that covered, and I think we could see Milford ton up this week. I think you got to be a hold. You got to be a hold. Don't rage trade guys with Milford. Just trust the process, trust the guy and the player that he is, and just sort of keep him in there.
It's only round 4. You've picked him at the start for a reason. It's not dire straits. As said, he's put some scores on the board, so just have faith in the MILF.
Yep.
Another one for you?
Another one for me, mate. Look, I don't have him, but I implore anyone out there who does have him to hold is Tamalolo. The Cowboys, they beat Cronulla in round 1. It was a rubbish game. They've suffered 2 defeats to the Broncos and Melbourne since. They haven't had the easiest start to the season. Look, Tamalolo, we know what a wrecking ball he is and how good this guy can be. He's sort of around that 40 to 50 to 60 at the moment. He can get better. So look, if you've got him, just hold. Just, we always say, don't trade a gun. So I think you've just got to rely on him that he can bounce back and just sort of hit his stride soon.
That being said, his minutes are starting to... There's a bit of a concern if he's only average around those low 50-minute mark, where he was getting 60, 65 last year. He might be a reevaluate. He did get a few more minutes on the weekend, so maybe it's just a little bit of a fitness thing, and they had a tough draw, like you said. But it's interesting because he's probably on my watch list now because he's starting to have a couple of high break evens. I'm wondering, well, can I get him in a little bit?
Well, so you talk about that. Another guy who I'm watching, and I'm sure many people are, is Jordan Rapana.
Yeah.
Jordan Rapana dropped about 60 or 70 grand over the week. He's got a break even of 94, which, look, we know Rapana, he could bang out 150 this week. But he looks good. He hasn't played that well in the first 3 weeks, but there's a lot of signs there on the footy field that he's just waiting for that breakout game. I'm really hoping he struggles in the next week or 2, because if he can drop another 50 or 60, I'm going to get him straight in. I think he's just under the 600 mark at the moment. I can't afford it at the moment. I've got too many other people that I've got to sort of switch in and switch out. But definitely got my eye on him. Yeah,
and I think that's going to be... There's a lot of guys that have been prolific point scorers Supercoach wise in the last few years that haven't started very well, and over the next 2 to 3 weeks you're going to get some bargain buys that you're going to have to take a risk on because they haven't started well. But I always say form is temporary, class is permanent. And if you can get some of these guys like 50k cheaper than what they started the season or more, there's going to be some really good buys in the next sort of 2 to 3 weeks now. Getting some price changes, so it'll be interesting to see how some teams come out. So
Definitely. What are your thoughts on Sam Burgess?
Yeah, mate, again, so he's been thrown into that prop position again. I didn't actually get to watch the game on the weekend, and they did really well, but again, I'll just keep saying that there isn't a heap of really good front row options, and that's where I've got him at the moment. I know Fafita's looked like he's now might be turned on this year. He had a really good game, but we'll wait and see. He got a few extra minutes as well, but he's a hold for me. I just think he showed on the weekend he's still got those high 60 scores, early 70s in him, and he can do it quite easily. He's got the engine. He can play the big minutes. If someone gets injured, he can play 80 minutes. He doesn't need a break. They give him a break. He doesn't really need it. But for me, he's still a hold. He's still a massive hold. And if you're trading him out, and that's the biggest problem you've got in your team, then I envy you, to be honest, because Yeah, he's not an issue for me at the moment.
No,
He's bounced back, and I think if we can just keep the penalties and those little indiscretions where he's losing points out, he's getting 65 every week, like, realistically.
I went a bit rage trade last week. Look, I never said I was going to take him out, and I ended up taking him out last week. And he bangs out a 68. Look, you know, again, rookie error on my part. Never trade out a gun, and he just sort of, you know, bit of karma there for me. But collectively, I want to talk about the centre wing position. There's a lot of guys, and we mentioned Jordan Rapana. If you're looking in your backs, bit of rage trade last week with Latrell Mitchell. Now, Latrell, I think after the game he was about 72. He got updated or downdated to 61. This is a guy who has shown so much potential. We've talked about his laziness. We've talked about a lot of other things. But if you look in the backs, you look at Latrell, you look at guys like Mansour, Aitken, Jimmy Roberts, Timotheo Lafai, you know. You look at Lafai last week, first 2 weeks, 15, 20 scored. Last week bangs out 3 tries, cracks a ton easy. You know, again, we've taken these guys in the centre wing position. You can only sort of take 2 or 3 of them if you're lucky to start the season. You got to sort of rely on them. You know, you don't want to waste these trades. We've only got 37 for the season. These guys, for me, you've just got to hold them. You know, you took them for a reason to start with. Have that faith in them and just sort of hold.
Yeah, so last week I did trade him out, partly because trading him out, downgrading him to someone, it ended up being Mansour, allowed me to upgrade Katoa to Philip Sammy.
Yeah,
just I was just trying to, because I had Lomax on my bench and then I had Katoa there, I needed to like establish another cheapie. In the event where we've now got Kenner missing a week, you know, I didn't have a good backup. I didn't want to play Dewey in my centres as a last resort, which was what would have happened this week if I didn't get on Sammy. I didn't want to trade Latrell, but I had to. That was the trade I had to make. At the end of the day, it probably worked out okay for me. We'll see in the long run. It cost me a trade. They got about the same score. Mansour was worth a little bit less. My concern with Mitchell is he's just, I mean, I watched the game closely being a Newey fan, and he'll put shots on, he'll come out of the line, he's got so many little things in his game where he just needs to get rid of them for Supercoach. But he goal kicks, he can score tries from anywhere, he's a tackle bust machine, he's a weapon. But I'm not sure, now I've gotten rid of him, I don't think I'll get him back in. I don't think he's going to be one of my final 4 because of that reason. I've just got rid of him now. I won't see him again, but he's going to be a pod that will hurt me at times.
No, fair enough. What about the sell list, mate?
Yeah, so top of the sell list for my team, and probably your team and maybe a few teams, with a little bit of a question mark would be Appy Coruscant. It might sound a bit funny, and I know it's only round 3 or round 4 and he's only had 1 bad score, but the minutes, I'm starting to be a bit concerned now. Hastings seems to have established himself on that bench spot now, so he's a bit of a different prospect. He's got a high 50 break even, so I think this is the week where you might leave him 1 week, but if he only pumps out a 40 this week, he's got to go. But they're playing the Raiders. I'm tempted to hold him, but again, I'm thinking to get rid of a Coruscant, swap a Slade Griffin and bring a Murray or something like that in. Something like that, because you make a bit of cash. And like I said, Coruscant is just, I just don't want to put up with that inconsistency in the minutes. So he's probably one of the top of the sells for me. There's probably a lot of different opinions about that out there, but that's one of the big ones for me in my team where I'm pretty happy with a lot of it, but that's where I'll generate a bit of cash and get ready to swoop on some bargains over the next few weeks. What about you, mate?
Mate, I've got to say I was wrong. One guy I am going to sell this week is Cameron Munster. A couple of weeks ago after round 1, he had a massive game at fullback. I didn't think it had changed that much, him going to 5'8". I thought it would affect his points, but I thought he'd still be, you know, that sort of 70 average in that 5'8" role. What I've seen in the last 2 weeks, he can't do that. So for me, I think to be the Supercoach great that we know he can be, he's got to be at fullback. And I think it really hurts if he is in that 5'8" role that he doesn't have Cronk there anymore to, I guess, just be that initial first receiver. With Billy Slater there, and if he's healthy, he's not going to find himself back at fullback. So, look, I'm going to sell him this week. I think he just has to be on the sell list before he just drops too much cash.
The trade rage
Yes,
He's strong
yes.
in this one.
Oh,
He's strong in this
I
one.
tell you. Look, I'm going to bring in SJ.
Yeah.
That's it. So, look, I just...
Set and forget it.
Rookies. Don't make my mistakes.
Well, so another one I definitely want to quickly mention would be Jack DeBellin.
Yep.
So he would have started the season, everyone would have thought, had some high hopes on him, and rightly so. He finished the end of last year really well, but he's just playing a different style of footy this year.
Yeah.
He's not that base back rower that we've seen. He's passing the ball before the line a lot.
Yep.
So I think he's a sell. There's some better options I think you could go to out there. So I think DeBellin's definitely on the sell list.
We saw him last year on the fringe of the New South Wales team. I actually think he makes that team this year. I think he's playing good footy. From a Supercoach point of view, though, he's just changed that dynamic. The Dragons, we talked about it before the start of the season, the Melbourne Storm forward pack was so well structured that they just all got sort of low minutes. I think the Dragons have become the same. You look at James Graham, who's gone in there. He's not getting the same, that dominant 80 minutes on the park that he was last year. So yeah, for mine, if you got Jack DeBellin, he'd be a sell for mine. And I'd be looking at other guys like Cam Murray, Nathan Brown, who are sort of going to pump out that 70, 80 minutes. Harris, for sure.
So Cleary's definitely a sell. You can't
Cleary's a
hold
sell.
a player like
Get
that.
rid of him. Moses. He dropped 70k this week, and he's got a break even of 117 this week. He's going to drop some more cash. Look, they do play the Tigers, but we've seen what the Tigers have brought the top three teams in the club in the comp down to last week. Moses is one that if you've got him, I'd sell. And I'm going to, at some stage, look, unless I stack my halves in the next few weeks, I'm actually thinking when he bottoms out, I'm going to bring him back in. This guy is too much of a good player to be scoring tens for the next, umpteen weeks. So I think there's going to be that time of the season where him and Corey Norman click and the rest of the Para team click. And those are the weeks where he's going to score 80, 90, 100 plus. If I can get him at sort of 320, 350,000 in the next sort of 3 or 4 weeks, he's probably who I'm going to bring in to kick out Lachlan Croker.
Absolutely, I think that's a genius move. And something I would have mentioned, I think if you time it right and he doesn't produce in the next couple of weeks, there's nearly the potential for a straight swap in there, which it might sound funny because you're hoping for him to not do well in the next couple of weeks, but that's Supercoach. My only concern is what's going on at Para. I've heard some rumours about people not being happy and whatever, but if they can get that to click, he could be a bargain at anything from under 350 and under. Like at 450, he was probably a bargain, despite the start they had. But yeah, if you're talking like nearly a straight swap for Croker, holy moly, that's good.
What about trades this week, mate?
Yeah, mate. So again, I've briefly touched on him. See what happens with Merrin. If he's named, I'll keep him. Because I started with him and I'm going to persevere with him. High 50 odd break even. See what happens. If he doesn't get named, I may go straight to Murray. Frees up 150 odd thousand for me. Murray's only going to go up. I really want to get on the Murray train. So I don't know whether I want Merrin to be named or I don't. I want to keep Merrin, but because I started with him and I didn't have to bring him in, I haven't wasted a trade to have to go, I now need to keep him. I started with him and I'm not sold. I'd be more comfortable with someone like Murray. That being said, if Merrin gets named, there's a good chance I'll end up getting rid of Coruscant to do the same thing. Slade Griffin will go into that spot. Probably similar to something you might look to do. And bring Murray in. I just really want to get on the Murray train, and it's going to free up some cash. I know it might sound a bit funny. Coruscant's produced some good scores, Merrin's produced some good scores, but now that I've seen him, it's a little bit different to how I imagined it. So that's where I'm at. Will I maybe not trade at all? Probably not. I'm too trigger happy. So there's probably going to be at least a trade there. If Merrin isn't named and I want to get rid of Coruscant, I have no idea what I'll do. But that's where my headspace is at this week. Happy with my outside back, cash cows, all that sort of stuff. It's all looking pretty good. So that's where I'm looking at the moment. Yourself, mate?
Mate, similar to you, cash cows wise, I've had sort of everyone in there from the start. I was pretty happy with that. So I'm looking at, maybe just sort of upgrading here or there. The one sell I'm definitely going with is Coruscant this week. We talked about this. Griffin, I'm going to use the dual position, bring him into the hooker position off the bench. I'll bring Cook into the starting side. I'm actually going to bring in Nathan Brown. I think, I just need him in my team. The way I look at this guy is he's just going to go large this season. So, we'll do Coruscant to Brown via Griffin to Hooker. The other one, and I mentioned it before, was Munster to SJ. Now this one I'm not completely sold on. I've done it for now. I could reverse it back. Munster does have the Sharks this week. I know my guys. I know they can be weak up the middle. He may just turn it on this week after a couple of quiet weeks. So, again, yeah, it's something I may reverse. I brought in Merrin last week for Surges. A bit of a rookie error. Same as you. Look, if Merrin's not named, I'll probably look at offloading him. Two options I've got there. I'm going to bring in either Tohu or I'm going to bring in Cam Murray. One of the two. So, we'll see how we go.
Yep, sounds good, mate. Sounds good. And just on that this week, within our league, we got our head-to-head starting up. So we'll have the head-to-heads. You get to take us on. We'll see how that goes.
I'm currently in last place. It will not stay that way. I am moving up the ladder.
Yeah, and I'm going to try and keep nailing into that top 1,000. So if you're going to try and run me down, that's the sort of the area I'm aiming for this season. So that's where we're at, mate.
Awesome. But that's it for week 3, guys. Thanks very much for joining us. Give us a like and a subscribe. And we'll catch you all next week.